something embarrassing behind me.
Okay. So with that, I'll call the July meeting of the IT Advisory Committee to order. It is July 22nd, and I am here in conference room 1 at Belmont Town Hall. And we have 4 of our members who are joining us remotely. So welcome, everybody. I think the first order of business here is to approve the minutes from the May meeting of the IT Advisory Committee, and I think I have those open. You can just hold on a second. I'll share my screen. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, 1 second, people. Share, and I want to, yeah. And that. Okay, everyone can see that, okay?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, so not sure if everybody had a chance to go over it. I reviewed it and it seemed pretty accurate to me. I didn't have any corrections. I think a couple just call outs from that maybe we'll be able to pick up on this meeting if we can get some reports back. But just nobody else has suggestions or corrections. Somebody
Can you go back up to whatever my motion was so I can just look at it real quick?
Jim Bartz noted the governor's emergency order is expected to expire.
There was a motion right above there.
Jim Bartz made a motion to give the chair and vice chair permission to write the annual
Yep. Oh, that's fine.
and submit it without further review. I think Glenn has done that. I'm not sure. I'll check with him. We're a little bit tardy on that this year, but we'll get it done. Okay.
I make a motion, we approve.
Somebody want a second?
A second.
Okay. Starting with Phil Lawrence, Phil?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Jonathan?
Aye.
Dan Ellard?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye as well. So the minutes are unanimously approved. That's great. Next up on our, we didn't do that. So let's see, just bring up our agenda here, which I had open a second ago. So public comments, questions. I don't see anybody from the public in attendance, so I think we can move on. Website renewal committee update. That is mine. And hear me?
So we just lost, sorry, Dr.
Yeah.
Phil. Paul, we just lost you a little
Yeah,
bit.
just switch my mic over. Hold on 1 second.
No, it's fine again. I guess it was just a switch
Okay.
over.
Yeah, I think the cord might have rattled a little bit. So we, the website renewal committee did meet last week. It had been a few months. I think it had been 2 months anyway since we had last met, just because of scheduling snafus. And we have gotten, so when I last updated you, I and another member had put together a short survey of different town departments on how they're using the website, what they use it for, trying to get a sense of kind of what their biggest interaction with the website is, like what types of information is most important for them, what types of services they provide to the community, just not even via the website, just overall, and just kind of looking for confluence of, can we use this opportunity to improve the website to also maybe take some work off of their plate, or automate some of the stuff that they're doing, or push it out to prospective, to residents and the public, instead of having them phoning in or emailing or calling or visiting to procure these services. So we put together questionnaires, and Ellen O'Brien Cushman has been great in going out and talking to folks within departments, getting them to respond to these questionnaires. And they got kind of laid on us about 10 hours before the meeting or something, or a few hours before the meeting. So we didn't really have a chance to go over them in detail and discuss them in detail in our meeting, but we did discuss them a little bit. And we're going to be kind of picking over some of the output of those. And I think there are more interviews that are ongoing. I don't think she actually got to all the departments in town. And so that is ongoing, and we'll have more to report out on that in the foreseeable future. I think one of the kind of meta goals of this committee is to look for ways to really, first of all, streamline interactions with the town government via the website, and make it a lot, really have a website that is functionally oriented instead of bureaucratically oriented, right? So that's designed around the concept of like, how do people interact with this? What are people looking for? How can we push information out to them, instead of, what is the bureaucratic structure of the town of Belmont? Here are all the departments, and like, it's not really clear what information resides in what department. But, if you know that, then maybe you can find what you're looking for. And so one of the things that did come up that I wanted to sort of bring to the committee, and frankly, I mean, it is the reliance of the different departments on, third-party providers of various sorts, whether it's for, obviously like parking ticket payments, or other types of payments for services. The recreation department has a whole separate company that provides rec websites, basically, that Belmont uses and a bunch of other towns use as well. So a lot of their content is actually not hosted on Belmont's infrastructure, but on this third-party provider. And obviously, one of the questions I had is, just around third-party risk, and do we really have a good handle on what data we have out on these third parties, that on the security that they're using, also the hooks that they have into our own infrastructure, such that if they were to become victimized in a ransomware attack or something like that, that we might be exposed through them, whether it's accounts, contractor accounts or admin accounts with permissions into Belmont infrastructure. So I kind of took it upon myself and this committee to say, we'll dig a little bit deeper on that and work with Dave and the other powers that be to, first of all, understand what's the list of third-party providers at our website that we as a town use for different types of online services. And it, at least via the website, and, have we done a thorough kind of risk analysis around those? And do we feel like we have a good, a good grasp of the, what data they have, what level of access they have back into our systems, and all that stuff. That's, and I sort of said, I'll take that and try and report back to you by next meeting. I'm not sure exactly how to go about doing it beyond reaching out to, Dave, Robin, Steve, and the other, also probably be fire and police as well. And just trying to say, I don't know, I think I should probably just ask, we're looking to get a sense of, what third-party application providers you use for different functions. Again, we know Belmont Police Department, or actually it's not even probably Belmont Police Department, it's probably the town clerk, uses a third-party provider to do to pay tickets and stuff. But
Are
are there
are you
others like-
looking at specifically systems that are connected to the town's website as part of the website project? Or are you looking more broadly?
I'm really focused on sort of one, any third party, service that that residents or others are accessing via the website, because that's
Okay.
kind of the scope.
Yeah.
I'm not
sense.
looking, GIS systems or some of the back end systems that, that different departments may use, for non-public facing functions. Yeah,
Okay,
no,
that
I'm
makes
really
sense.
looking at, if they're pivoting off our site to this other provider, like in the rec department, or in, to pay a parking ticket. Okay, let's just look at that, relationship and, what have we really looked at this from a security and risk perspective? And, are there any
Okay,
concerns?
Well, also wondering if it isn't an opportunity, if we haven't already conducted sort of a analysis of where one vendor might serve multiple purposes, and you might streamline and get a little more cost efficient, or even mitigate
Yes.
risk by
Yes.
number.
By reducing number of vendors. And I don't know, but my sense is there's definitely a large variety of these third parties that we use. And I don't know, but my guess is there probably is some duplication of services that we might be able to consolidate. So you're absolutely right, Phil, that I think that would be a byproduct of this. Of course, one of the big ones, the sort of meta one, is of course, the company that hosts the website itself, right? And provides a platform for, belmont-ma.gov and Civics Plus. And that is, I think that's something else we need to look at from the perspective of, okay, how resilient are we here? Do we need to have some kind of a backup site in the event, let's just say Civics Plus gets hit by a ransomware attack, and locks up websites across, hundreds of municipalities. Nobody can get to their website. How well would Belmont be able to respond to that? And what steps have we taken to make sure we would still be able to have a website and serve our residents in an event like that?
So we don't host any of this stuff. It's all hosted on a third party as well as running a third party software.
That is my understanding. There may be links to assets that Belmont manages directly, particularly on the back end for file storage and stuff like that. But the front end is Civics Plus, and that's their infrastructure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I certainly I can believe that. Yeah.
But for content management, for example, the documents that one would access through our website are actually being stored elsewhere and under the purview of one of these other companies.
Yes.
I think what you describe is, if I understand it correctly, is, basically our website is a portal. Yes, that portal is hosted by the Civics Plus folks, but it's really a portal to various other third-party services. And in particular, I think the one that's most risky, probably from people's perspective, is the payments module, right? Because that's going to have financial information.
Yep.
And I think that Dave is probably the point person for all this. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at the least, I would suggest that the most efficient way to address all of the things that you've highlighted is to get Dave to come into a meeting, and we can very efficiently highlight for him the various issues, hear from him how he's addressing risk mitigation in these various areas. And beyond that, I'm not sure what else we can do.
I think with everything with Belmont, it's probably, so I think Dave's probably 80% of it and 20% of it is other departments. So I'm guessing, almost certainly the Belmont Public Schools system and their website also has links out to third-party services. So Steve should be in here as well, BMLD as well. And
Right.
And I think the public safety and probably the library as well. So, each of these, I don't want to blow the focus, because this committee is really focused on the town's website, not the school's website. So you're probably right. I think let's scope it and just say let's stick with Dave and anything else that you can access from belmont-ma.gov. I guess one question is, and this is kind of beyond my purview, is there a way to just do a scan of the Belmont website and actually surface any, easily and surface, links out to third-party services? Like, is there an easy way to kind of crawl the site and just actually discover any of those pivots, rather than trying to get people in a room and say, okay, tell us all the, all the third-party services that we link to, and have them be like,
Yeah, they might not even know.
They might not know. Yeah. And which is even right. And the ones they can think of are probably the ones that actually have people are looking at. It's the ones that have escaped their notice that might be the biggest points of vulnerability for us.
So assuming it's not too encrusted with JavaScript, it should be pretty easy to crawl the site and just get a list of all the posts that pop up. It sounds, to go back to your concern about, what if one of these sites, one of the key sites is lost, a ransomware attack, or just EC2 goes down, Cloudflare goes down. Yep. Sounds like we should have in our back pocket a website that it doesn't have to mirror everything, but it just has, here are the 20 telephone numbers that you need to know if the site isn't working, and we just pop that up whenever we need to.
Yeah. Or is there a way to, Civics Plus is just a Drupal, CMS, right? So is there, and that's something that maybe Civics Plus can help us, like, hey, if we wanted to just download the whole site, I'm guessing we can do that and host our own, have Dave and his crew have a hot swap, Drupal server running in their AWS instance, or
a CDN can
Yeah.
do that too. Like at work, we use Drupal as all of our backends, but all the data is cached in Akamai. So if Drupal can go down, and as long as what people are trying to access is read-only content, nobody's any the wiser.
Right.
Another thing we can do is just run Qualys SSL Labs on the site too, just to find out where we are from a security perspective. And I do notice that we do have an expired certificate.
Oh, okay. For the whole site, or for some particular service?
I believe for the whole site.
Well, that's not a good look.
Yeah, right. I get warnings about it in some browsers.
Okay.
I'm going to go look right now.
Yeah, I'm looking as well. I don't get it. Belmont-ma.gov. Mine says it's a legitimate.
Maybe it depends on which. Maybe it depends on which browser you're using.
I'm using Chrome. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Is use Qualys.
I'm sure,
so that was.
Sure
Oh, you're breaking up a bit, Phil.
I can't make you out, Phil.
I'm saying that I'm sure Dave has done that already, but why not do it again, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it more from the perspective of just if we want to have a list of these, again, rather than sort of asking somebody like, okay, recount for us from your memory, like all the different third-party integrations we have. If we could just be like, okay, well, here's a list we came up with just through our, crawling and scanning. Does this look right? Are there others we're missing? And then just kind of be able to go down and be like, all right, let's, And then I guess some work this committee could do as well would be to just figure out, what level of attention we want to give to those. So, I think we've already sort of just thought of, I think having resilient, focusing on resilience. So what do we do if the service goes down? Can we have a backup of the site and any of these other services? Are there ways to provide a backup to these if they were to go down? And then just sort of the basic kind of 10 question, security eval of, okay, data at rest, data in transit, what about, how do we authenticate to these services? Who is administering this from our side? What level of access do people for the other side have to our environment? Just those types of questions, I guess. I'm not a red teamer or a pen tester, but something like that where we can just sort of check them off and say, yep, okay, this one's pretty secure. We feel good about it. Move on to the next one. That would be good for this committee to do and have that as part of its, marching orders going forward. If there were issues to resolve there, this would be a good time to do it while we're redesigning the site. And probably we want to resolve them before that. We probably want to accelerate those types of actions. And here's Mr. Goldberg.
So I figured out what Phil was seeing before.
Okay.
Or I figured out something anyway. It's not an expired certificate. It's just that the certificate is tied to www.belmont-ma.gov. So if you
self-signed cert, that's probably what it is.
Well, no, it's not self-signed. It's a valid cert. But if you go to belmont-ma.gov and your browser doesn't magically redirect you to www, it won't match. So
I got it.
that maybe that's what you're seeing. I don't know. When I put my spider on it, that's what I ran into right away.
Got it.
So that's going to vary from browser to browser.
Yeah, it probably just redirects, but yeah.
Okay.
Can I just interrupt the flow for 1 second? Dave, do you want to
Go
take
ahead.
over? I've been taking notes. Do you want to take over?
Sure, I can do that. I've got a file open already.
Okay, I'll stick what I have so far in the email to you.
Welcome, Dave. We were
Okay,
just
thanks.
talking about the website renewal committee we met last week, and I was just providing an update and saying that we're basically in the process of interviewing. Ellen Cushman is out talking to some of the department heads using a survey that we developed just to get a sense of, their interactions with the public, both in person as well as via the website. Understand a little bit how they maintain their part of the website, if they do, how big a part of what their job it is. And then also, even in a broader sense, like what are your interactions with the public like when people are walking in off the street? What are they looking for? People are calling you. What are they after? Kind of trying to get that sense from the various departments. And one other thing that came out of this meeting was all the various third-party services that we use as a community and on the site. For things like, obviously, paying a parking ticket, registering your kid for rec services, paying your light bill, et cetera, et cetera. There was kind of a recognition that, geez, there are a lot of these services. Some of them may be overlapping in terms of what they offer. In other words, we may be able to consolidate and save ourselves some money. And also, I sort of interjected, have we taken a good look at these integrations, and do we feel confident about, the risks that they pose and that we're managing that risk, both around third-party access into our environment, as well as obviously data security, data integrity, because we got residents and stuff sharing data, including financial data, out to these sites. And so I was bringing that to the committee and saying, can we do a little bit of work here with Dave and the other powers that be to understand that problem a little bit? And, even ahead of that, can we do a little work just to kind of crawl our site and try and spot or identify any of these third-party integrations, basically any kind of pivot or post out from our site to some third-party site that we could just track. Because I can think off the top of my head of a few ones, but there may be others that I don't even know about that we're using or relying on. And I don't want to just bring Dave in here and ask him to recount from memory all the different third-party service integrations that the town uses, because he's probably not going to be able to do that either. So if we could kind of have a list and be able to go through it with him, that'd probably be better. So we were just talking a little bit about how we might go about doing that.
Okay, thanks.
Do we want to, so I'm happy to reach out to Dave and get him scheduled for our next meeting, assuming it's August. Do we want to, can one or two of you work on the scan survey piece to just, identify any of these third-party integrations before then, and so we have just a list to work from?
I can do some of that.
What?
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, I guess the only question I have is what level are you the existence of an integration, or are we supposed to do any kind of probing? That seems a little bit beyond what I would consider our authority.
Yeah, I don't see this as like a red team or a pen test. I think it's really, I really just want to spot like any link out to a third party service. Again, the one that comes to mind is like paying a parking ticket, right? So we're clearly from Belmont site, we are linking out to the third party ticket payment service, or from the rec department, there's a very small amount of information that's hosted on Belmont's infrastructure. Most of our information on our rec programs is actually hosted on a third party site that's especially for recreation programs, and we've licensed with them to do that, to offer that. So I just want to, I don't want to test the security of these. I really just want to identify them so we can say, okay, we're using blah 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 for ticket payments, and rec.com for our recreation department, and blah 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 for the light bill. And
we don't, and so then the question is, did we do a risk assessment of them? I know Dave has that consultant that does a lot of that kind of stuff. Was that part of it? Sure. Okay.
Right.
I can probably take a look.
Yeah, just be able to go through with Dave and be like, all right, here, and also I think just work as a committee to sort of come up with what, as I said, what are the 10 kind of checklist questions that we just want to ask for each of these, so we feel comfortable. I can bring that back to the committee and say, first of all, here are the list of service providers and the services we're using them for. So maybe let's look for opportunities to consolidate. And second of all, here's where these are. Like this one looks a little bit like we need to be paying more attention to this, or, these ones we got them nailed down pretty tight and we should feel okay about that. So I think that's kind of the idea.
Just took a really quick look at the payment, the top level page that says, pay a bill, and there are at least 5 different websites linked from there. One of them is the light department, so that one's not going to change. But there's a bunch of different ways to pay your bills. Yeah,
that's my sense. That's the impression I got just kind of from the committee. So yeah, that's the type of thing we're going to look at. And in terms of scope, I mean, again, I think we're going to keep the scope right now to belmont-ma.gov, although I think this could just as easily extend across to some of the other town departments that have their own website.
So at the risk of sounding potentially contrarian, I actually feel better about the fact that there's different sites for different kinds of bills. The alternative is the town collects all the financial information, then parcels that out itself on the back end as opposed to redirecting the residents there. And that's just much more risk to the town. It means the town is collecting more data than I frankly want them to. Yeah, so I mean, it's a trade-off, but all those other companies are usually there's quite a bit of regulation around them, and most of them are not horrible from what I've seen.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think we disagree. I think it's more a question of what's our exposure to not just data loss, but denial of service. So
sure,
if we read,
I agree. I definitely agree with the idea of looking. Don't get me wrong. I definitely agree that vendor risk assessments are critical. I mean,
Right.
I've been out of the DoD space for a year now, but I'm I'm still looking at what's going on with CMMC and the reason.
Sure, Kaseya and right, and Solar Winds and
oh gosh, yeah.
I think, and the other thing, Dave, obviously is consolidation too, as well. So, if we're looking and saying, we're doing our parking tickets here, but this vendor that we're also doing for this bill could do that as well for us. And there's an easy opportunity to say, let's use one vendor instead of two vendors. That obviously is easier for everyone. And then the other issue is, first of all, and I really think just really looking at, what level of access do these people have into Belmont's infrastructure? Is this purely a one-way relationship where we're directing people off the site and they're never coming back in? Or is there some programmatic, API-based integration with our site or something that we need to be mindful of and make sure we have lockdown? I don't know, but just something to consider. And so let's see, I'm wrapping up on the website renewal committee. So that's where it is. I think there's going to be more to come. I will share the survey responses with you guys as well, if you want to take a look at them from the various departments, just to get a sense of what they had to say. And so that's moving along. I mean, I think, with this committee, where I think there's a tension between staying high level and trying to be big picture and then diving down into the details. And we're continuing to wrestle with that, but I think we're doing a pretty good job of, kind of taking the long view and trying to keep it big picture right now before we get, down into the weeds of, what the site's going to look like, what features it's going to have, what the front page is going to be like, where the content's going to come from, who's going to update the content. There's a lot of stuff. It's everything from platform to content to workflow and process. And, we're trying to take it slow. So get it right. But so that's my report out from website renewal. And I will share those, the documents that I have with you as well, and you can take a look at them. But please don't comment, because that would be a violation. Okay, one sec. Next up, we have, Glenn or Charlie. Charlie, do you have anything? Have you been continuing to attend the Structural Review Committee?
I dropped in on one meeting, could have been 5 or 6 months ago. I have no idea what they're doing. I don't even know who's doing it.
Okay. I think Glenn's been to meetings since then. I think he's introduced himself to them, and I think they are interested in talking to us, but I haven't heard anything. I will maybe shoot an email out and copy Glenn and Dave, maybe you, and maybe we can arrange a summit of sorts. Next item up for business is, because I do think actually IT Advisory Committee probably should be having some say in sort of the discussion around structural review. Obviously, I think technology has a big part to play. So remote meeting, help to craft policy. Well, that brings us back to the remote meeting topic. And I think we are in a, I guess, what are we in a sort of, in a purgatory, I guess, with remote meeting or something like that until September, end of September, where it's basically status quo.
I thought it had been, well, I might be reading the wrong thing, but I thought Governor Baker had extended it till next April. Am I
Is it
misreading
next
that?
April? Okay, that could be. Okay.
Does anybody know
So
definitively? Or
the
am I,
select board will be even less inclined to do anything. Just hopefully the state will take care of it for them.
Yeah.
let me just do a quick Google here, as long as I'm sitting in front of a computer.
I think that's right. I had end of September, but maybe that was the original extension date and they pushed it back further.
That gives us more time for people to get, used to the idea and build evidence that it's not going to lead to catastrophic problems that people have predicted.
Yeah.
Or else we'll have the catastrophic problems and we'll have that evidence.
Yeah. I don't know. This seems sort of like is the vaccine safe? And they're like, well, we've given the vaccine to 300 million people in the world and there aren't many problems. So I think we can assume it's safe. It's sort of like one of those, like we've been running this town on remote meetings for the last 18 months and things seem to be going okay. So I'm not sure what more evidence you need, but there's always, why put off to tomorrow what you can do today? So it's an attractive proposition.
April 1st, 2022.
I put off to tomorrow, we can put it off to the next day.
Yeah. I would like to see the selectmen act on this, given that, again, all they're doing is, within the existing OML, kind of giving the green light to committees that are interested in doing that and having members be able to participate remotely. There is no question about the public being able to participate remotely because they already can. And if somebody wants to walk into your meeting as a member of the public and set up a webcam and, or a microphone and start live streaming it, they can do it. You can't really stop them from doing it. So this is kind of nothing that the selectmen need to approve. All they need to approve is whether committee members themselves can deliberate remotely, participate remotely. And then it's up to the committees to decide really on a meeting by meeting basis, whether that's something they're interested in. And I can't understand the need to continue. I don't really consider that there is anything left to study with this. It simply seems like if we can put off making a decision to tomorrow instead of making one today, why not? And the answer is because it delays everybody else. Like you not acting keeps all of us in limbo. Even if the governor has kind of come to the rescue for us here, this question is still unanswered for committees. And I don't think that's a good thing, but.
No.
Well, there's at least one article, one of the opinion pieces in the Citizen Herald today was very much in favor of remote meetings, to the point that she seemed to be upset that they're doing the gas tank meeting in hybrid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really been a huge boon to public participation in these meetings. I mean, I'm sure some of that was just that people were cooped up at home anyway because of COVID, but I think a lot of it was just the ease with which people could participate and not have to, miss dinner with their family to go down to the, Chenery meeting room. I mean, I just think that had a huge impact. And
I think that's true sort of across the board, various meetings and groups that I've been associated with, they all report, much higher levels of participation over the last, 18 months or so. Because people don't have to worry about driving and parking and, and the time and the hassle that entails.
Yeah.
So, but I'm very disappointed with the select board on this.
Yeah.
As much as we, and especially you, Paul and Glenn, have tried to, make the case and make them understand what the issues are, they're just not focused. They don't really seem to want to be focused. And I don't know what more we can do at this point to get them to
Yeah.
focus. It's really
Yeah,
sad.
it's just sort of like, well, I don't know, there are still questions and it's just like, well, we met with you 5 months ago. So if you had a question, then answer it, ask it, obtain the answer, and then, make your informed decision. But to continue saying, well, I have questions that are unanswered when you haven't even taken the initiative to ask the question and get it answered, it just sort of, it's like, that just seems like an excuse.
And then the last
and-
time around, they were alluding to some sort of technology survey or technology research program that being undertaken by Patrice and Dave Petto.
Yeah.
I just didn't, don't see
Yeah,
why.
are there questions to be answered about, what's the optimal configuration of, conference room 1 or the Chenery meeting room? Do we want 1 monitor, 2 monitors? What technology is best to kind of get that, big group meeting and have it be, effectively streamed? Those are all fine questions, and we can answer those over time, but I don't. Again, this decision right now is really just about giving committees that want it and need it the option, the flexibility of being able to do remote deliberation if they've got somebody who's on a business trip or got somebody who's stuck at home. And it just strikes me that every meeting that it doesn't happen gets delayed because of some pretty avoidable conflict is just, the town's business has been deferred again, and things are going to move slowly, more slowly than they needed to. I also would say, we are the IT advisory committee, and, that we don't, it doesn't mean that the Board of Selectmen needs to take all of our advice. But I think we did a good amount of research on this. If our purpose is to do kind of good, solid, objective research, put our, skills and expertise to use, formulate ideas and policy recommendations and hand them to them. I think we did all that. And to continue to sort of see them wring their hands and, kind of just not seem to really have absorbed that information. And some of the questions they asked us indicate to me, like, this was in the 21st Century Government Report and the report we gave you on specifically on remote meeting. And if you had read that report and were familiar with it, you wouldn't be asking me this question. So, it's a little bit discouraging from that standpoint as well. But we'll see.
I guess we wait. I guess my recommendation would be that we wait until after whatever the April thing expires. And if the State House has not come to terms to rectify this situation, or, by changing the OML appropriately, then we go back to the selectmen and say, hey, we're now back to Neanderthal days. Can you help? Can you help us?
Yeah, that would be a real unfortunate if it happened.
Well,
I will
I
note
don't think we need to wait until April, because this is going to require legislation. So if there's no legislation scheduled for debate or for a vote,
it's a good point.
We know what's going to happen.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But I'd say the selectmen are going to wait, because they're going to, if they can punt, if there's any glimmer of hope that the legislature might act on this, at the 11th hour, I think our selectmen are just not going to bother thinking about it. They're going to hope that they're going to get rescued from making this decision that'll be made for them by the legislature.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's my pessimistic view.
I will note that we also, of course, handed them another report last year that was, I'd consider even higher priority, and we have not had the opportunity to discuss that with them either. And I hope that they had the opportunity to review that report and, follow up on it on their own. But if it's sitting on a shelf gathering dust, that could be a bad thing for the community. So I do hope that I have sent a few emails over the transom saying, hey, we, handed this off 6 months ago or whatever it is. We'd love to come in and talk about it, but it hasn't happened yet.
Well, is it worth asking for to be put on the agenda for an executive session to talk about that?
I've done that, but I'll do it again. I'll do it again.
Okay.
It's summer. It's a little bit slower. I don't know when they're getting together in executive session again. It may not be till September, but I will send it a message to Patrice's office and see if we can make that happen.
I mean, if you just look at the newspaper today, it's very timely.
Yes. Yeah. And pretty much any day. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah. But it seems like the trajectory is just going up and up.
yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
so I'll do that.
And as a municipality, we probably have enough sensitive data that backups are not going to solve it. They'll get the operation going again, but they won't deal with the exfiltration and extortion based on that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. These are dual. These are dual extortion campaigns at this point. It's both the data and the system access. So yeah, no, I'll see if I can get those wheels turning and make something happen there, because it has been a while. Yeah, I think on the timeline on remote meeting, Jonathan, you've got a good point there, and Dan, obviously pay attention to what's going on in Beacon Hill and see if there's any movement there. I'd find it hard to believe they're just going to ignore that issue, but
We do have a new select board member, right, with Mark. I'm wondering if there's a slightly different dynamic now than there was previously. Don't know.
Hard to say, but I think probably. Yeah, I think probably.
I thought our most recent discussion was after he started. So I don't.
What's really funny is I don't get a strong sense that any of them are strongly opposed to the idea. I don't think that there's a hard no on the board on this. I just get the sense that they're just not excited to make a decision. So hey,
it's a change to the status quo, and
Yeah. Or as long as there's some plausible objection to it, then, it requires more study or something like that. I mean, it's just, but I don't get a sense that any of them are really hard against the notion itself. I just get a sense that they don't like the idea that they actually have to make a yes or vote up or down on this thing. Something could happen. There's something out there that I haven't thought of that could bite me in the ass.
Well, I think, I don't think it's that, well, this is just my opinion, but I don't think it's that mysterious. I think they're afraid that, the select board meeting will, be Zoom bombed or something, and it will turn into chaos and it will look bad and they won't get reelected, or,
I guess.
So.
But we've all Zoom's come a long way, baby, in the last year and a half. They've got so many controls, moderation controls, very hard to not like Zoom bombing's impossible, but it's hard now. It's a lot harder than it used to be.
I know. I don't think Zoom bombing is realistic, but it just, like, imagine you're trying to do a town meeting and, the internet conks out.
Yeah.
And now you've got people on the warpath with torches and pitchforks because they didn't get a chance to be part of the discussion, and
Yeah. So you say
it could be ugly. Yeah.
We'll have a new meeting. We'll do it again. We'll we'll cancel this meeting. We'll schedule it for a different evening. We'll all get back together and do this.
I think whoever said it, may have been Jonathan Green, that the selectmen would prefer to have the State House make a change in the open meeting law. I think that is indeed their hope.
I would prefer they do that too, because they could make it go much further.
Yeah. Well, and there are, again, we're really asking for just the bare minimum, which is, just within the existing OML, which allows remote deliberation, like just open that pathway for Belmont committees if they want to go there.
Though it still requires the physical quorum, right? That's what I'm hoping the legislature will do away with.
That's right. Yeah. There are much bigger changes, right, to OML that I think we all recognize including the, working with, collaborating online. And there's just so many things about it.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Modernized.
And maybe we should be lobbying Will Brownsberger.
Yeah. It's not a bad
Get
idea.
this done.
Yeah, get it done. Yeah. I mean, I've talked to Will about it before. I don't know how high it is on his priority list, but you know, the stuff just the challenges of, you know, being able to, you know, use modern collaboration tools to do committee work. You know, this notion that we've all got to be sitting at the same table, looking at each other in the face in order to do any work together as a group is just, it's like, you know, come on. This is the business of the town. You know, we got to move forward.
Well, at least we don't have to wear the powdered wigs anymore.
We don't. Maybe we're going to have to. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they would prefer that.
We can do that with virtual backgrounds.
Yeah, that's right. The top hat.
Yourself,
The top
Dan,
hat.
is virtual, you know, more hair. There we go.
But having spent a fair amount of time on Beacon Hill with this right to repair issue, I can tell you that if you're looking for Beacon Hill to kind of swoop in to the rescue, you know, don't hold out hope. Nothing there happens very quickly. So I would, you know, I'm guessing they'll get something done on this just because they're hearing it from so many towns, but it's probably not going to be comprehensive. It's probably going to be, you know, just pick the low hanging fruit on this. And who knows what the timeline is, right? So, okay. Was there other stuff? So I will send that email off and try and get the wheels turning on that as well. And I think that's a good suggestion. Are there other issues that we wanted to discuss? We're in the other business part of our agenda right now. I've got one thing, but before I blather on, do other people have airing your grievances, feats of strength, that type of thing? So what I wanted to follow up on was just the ask from Peter Struzziero on the kind of cybersecurity literacy question, and just I know we had a discussion about it last time, and but I wanted to see if what we want to do as a committee on that with Peter, and you know, not with the library, but using the library, and I think he'd be interested in some kind of a program. And I don't know if we reached a conclusion in our discussion last meeting about what level of engagement we wanted to have with that. But I'm open to suggestions.
Well, why don't you quickly review, because I can't remember what his ideal arrangement would be between himself and the library and us.
I think the library is just a venue and also a platform for, you know, reaching out into the community to promote these programs around cyber literacy, things like, you know, password management and securing your accounts and phishing and ransomware and all the types of, you know, basic cyber literacy, cyber hygiene things. I think he sees a lot of need for that within the library community, and I think he'd like to offer the library as a venue to bring people together to talk about it and to inform them about it. But that's about it. I don't think he can offer us any resources in terms of content or course design or anything like that.
Well, does he see? Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Charlie.
Does he see himself as a recruiter of those resources? Eventually, not necessarily a provider of the resources, but a recruiter of the resources.
You mean to lead the classes?
Of people to lead the classes, yeah, a recruiter of people.
Like experts, subject matter experts.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think he's looking to us to do that.
I thought there was some sort of initiative at the Beach Street Center to do something similar. I don't know if I have my wires crossed.
They yeah. I think they do programs. I know I've taught classes at the Beach Street Center on, you know, protecting yourself online. And I think, you know, since that was a few years ago, but I think they now have somebody who contracts with them who comes in and helps with computer issues. I don't know how much he really talks about cyber security or or hygiene online. But
Yeah,
they
I know who
definitely
you're
do have
talking
like
about.
a
I'm
tech
blanking on his name
liaison.
right now.
Yeah.
It'll
And
come to
then
me.
Dave, I know, has done some courses there, classes there as well, and he's mentioned that in our meetings. So, but I'm not sure what cadence he does it, how often he does those. But that is another locus of need. First of all, in the senior community, of course, highly, technology users, but also very, very targeted community and a vulnerable community. So that is one locus, and I think the public library is obviously a little bit more diverse in terms of age. So I think that was, and we have done, obviously, when we did the lecture series, Charlie, you and Glenn put that together, and I think a few of those were hosted at the library as well.
Yeah, actually, that was the principal venue, if not the only one, actually.
I think you did one at the Chenery.
Might have.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
actually we did.
yeah. So the onus, I think, would be on us to put the curriculum together and or find people to lead the sessions, if they were not committee members themselves. Silence. It could be a type of thing where we, as the IT advisory committee, we kind of coordinate with some of the other resources in town, including Dave's office, maybe, to sort of pull. We do have good resources in town, both on the police department, Dave's staff, on this committee, to spread the love, as it were, and it doesn't necessarily need to fall to us to deliver these lessons or curriculum, but we might act as a kind of shepherd to make them happen. So that's one idea.
Or as the advisory committee, we could advise on how to make it.
We could merely advise. We could be the wise old men. Yes.
As opposed to the doer.
Yeah. I can follow up with Peter and maybe talk to Dave a little bit. And I need to talk to Dave anyway about the other stuff and just sort of say, what do you think? I'm with Peter that I think the need is certainly there. And I know just, through some of the other stuff, cyber literacy and online safety are really a big problem. Whether it's passwords or, vulnerability to different types of, scams and attacks. And I don't know. Maybe Belmont Department of Public Health as well might be a resource on this too. And maybe Belmont Media as well. Just in terms of, getting a group together to sort of say, if we want to do a program of public education around this, how do we do it? What's the best way to reach a lot of people? And then this committee maybe could just maybe have more of an advisory role around, topics and curriculum and, finding subject matter experts and that type of thing. And not just have it all fall on our shoulders.
If you have two well-identified audiences, one being the senior center.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
and then if you wish, everybody else collected under the library group.
Yeah.
One thing that I know Mary kept telling us, I believe it was Mary, when we would put on a topic at the library and then only 25 or 30 people would show up, Mary would say, hey, that's a good turnout.
Yeah. And these days, Charlie, with Zoom, like my guess is, you might get those same 20 or 30 people, but you might have another 10 or 15,
Right.
on Zoom as well, just who attend virtually, or more than that, you know, school committee, you could have
If
500 people
if
online.
there was some way to pool those two audiences in a convenient way
Yeah.
for all of the attendees, you might actually make the, you know, the bang that you get out of this be more significant.
Yeah,
Well,
for
I think the
sure.
idea of involving the media center might be really valuable.
Yeah,
Because, you know, if someone's giving a fireside chat, so to speak, and they flub it the first time, they can do another take. You know?
yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea, you know, and also just, you know, we could do a mixture, you know, maybe we could have a small studio event, you know, to do at BMC, or have them kind of live. I know they recorded, I think, a few of the talks that you and Glenn organized, Charlie, if I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, actually, they sort of showed us how to record it, as I remember.
Okay.
But the first one they did record, I'm pretty sure that.
Yeah.
And I can't help thinking that maybe not the emphasis should not be on getting a wider audience, but actually having more similar things done, such that you reach 25 different people each time you do it, right?
Yes.
So the content that and also having kind of a unified messaging around it all, I think is important. So maybe all we really want to do is just contact the police and just say, hey, listen, we have three more venues for you to get out to, and we'd like to schedule you, right? I don't know.
Yeah. And there's some stuff too that, like, even like when I think about, like, oh, if I did talk about one thing with people, like what that would really improve their online security, what would it be? And it would probably be like password managers, you know, like just start using a password manager, stop dicking around with insecure reuse passwords.
I think it's really basic stuff, password
Yeah.
management, understanding what a phishing, attempt is, looking at, just the sniff test on
Right.
emails, how to kind of develop that sense, right? So, I don't know, and I think it's, again, probably it's repetition more than advertising and bigger audience.
Right.
That's kind of how I'm thinking.
Right. And if the topic were using a password manager, you might actually want a really small group to do that, right? You wouldn't want 30 people all trying to like learn how to use a password manager together. You might only want 3 or 4 people or 5 people, so you could actually kind of work with them, but capture it in a way that you could repeat it, put it on Belmont Media Center, have it available on Facebook or the website, town website, and just have it there as a resource,
Yeah, you can reach a wider audience in a variety of ways. You can do the same performance many times to a number of small groups.
Right.
If you figure out a way to do that efficiently, there's your wider audience.
Right. Whereas other stuff, the Belmont PD talking about the types of, email scams that Belmont residents are encountering, stuff like that. You want a much bigger audience, just to kind of get familiar with. Okay, you get a phone call from Microsoft, tech support, or you get, this email, you can be pretty confident it's a scam. Okay, let me, I'll follow up with Peter. He brought that to me earlier in the spring. So I'll follow up with him now that we're, fall's around the corner, and maybe we can pull some of the powers that be together and see if we can put together a little curriculum for 2021, 2022 and make it happen. Other stuff. Trying to think. I'd really like to get an update on the high school and kind of, as that building is really, I guess, getting into the final stages of building and probably outfitting, kind of what's going on there from a technology standpoint. I don't know if we can get Steve in to talk about, or somebody from the building committee to talk about what's going on there.
Yeah, I agree. Every time I walk by it, I've been worried about, what the internal IT looks like. Is it going to be obsolete the day they open the doors?
Yes. Yeah. the equivalent of 8-track tapes for every classroom or something. Yeah. It'd be good to kind of get that overview, and maybe we can try and get Steve on a meeting within the next few months to come in and give us the lowdown on that. I guess it's going to be open as of September, so we're going to be playing catch up, but we can do that.
I think if we do approach Steve, we have to be sensitive to the fact that during the first few months they're open, he's going to be a very, very busy guy.
Busy guy, yeah, understood. Okay, gents, are there any other issues or business matters you want to bring before the committee? If not, somebody want to, do we want to schedule our next meeting?
So do you want to stick with the third Thursday, which would be the 19th?
Yes.
And
I
then
think-
adjust as necessary if enough people can't make it?
I think that's great. And I will, Dave, you and I and Glenn can work together to, I think, put in just, 12 requests going through end of, July or June of 2022, and just, pin them on the third Thursday of the month. And then if we need to, we can adjust them month to month. Does that work?
Right.
That way we can, not be in a situation of having to last minute, having a meeting, rejected because we were late getting our paperwork in. But yes, for next week, next month, let's figure on the 19th, which is a Thursday, and same bat time, 7:30. And I will set up. Yep.
This isn't really a discussion item, but I was wondering if there's been any follow-up on the Linda, or now it's LinkedIn Library or whatever it's called.
With the
that we talked.
library.
Yeah.
I have not
Now
heard
it's called
anything.
LinkedIn Learning. That's what it's called now.
The issue was we were locked out. Is that right?
The issue, if I remember properly, was that there was some feeling that people were going to have LinkedIn accounts in order to access the Linda materials after LinkedIn purchased the Linda software.
Right.
And there was a widespread feeling that this was undesirable. But I haven't heard about it recently, so either that blew over or it got resolved in some other way.
Do you want to try and follow up on that and see if there's been any development?
Sure, I can ask.
Okay, that'd be great. And we'll just report back in August, see if there's anything we need to do. And Dan /Phil/Jim/Dave, can we by the next couple of weeks have some kind of a report on belmont-ma.gov and our any links out to third-party services?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I'm out this weekend, but I'll take a look at it next week.
Okay.
I've still got lots of time on my hands, although I am in a mode of trying to do a startup with a bunch of other people. So
Okay, congratulations.
see how this goes. Yeah, I've been doing
good
this
for
for several months after I finally realized that not only the corporate world not really want me anymore, and I don't want it anymore either.
That is the zeitgeist, Dave. That is very much the zeitgeist right now. Yeah. Okay, well, do you guys want to just coordinate amongst yourself on that? And then again, if we could just get like
Sure.
a spreadsheet or something, just sort of listing them that we could review when we have a chance to sit down with Dave, that'd be great.
Sorry, who is it again? I want to make sure I have the list here. I guess it's going to be in the minutes.
Dan, Dave, Jim, Phil, do you want a piece of this?
Yeah, I can definitely chip in.
Okay.
I don't know if I really have much expertise to offer, but I'm happy to help how I can.
Okay. So Dan, Dave, Phil, Jim
Sure.
as an alternate. Okay, great.
I had
Thank
it.
you.
I had to do a web crawler as a project for a Python class I took last fall. So I dig that out and see what I can do with it.
All right. Your skills are sharp. Your skills are sharp. That's great. Okay, well, let us know and yeah, just report back whenever you have something, and I think our next, let's put it this way, I think our next website meeting is I'll figure out when it is.
Okay.
I think it is it's Thursday, August 2nd, actually.
Oh, it's coming up.
Or is that September 2nd? Hold on.
August 2nd is a Monday, so
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
Thursday, September 2nd. So
Okay.
so you got a little bit of time. Okay. Okay. Somebody want to move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good, everybody.
Good night.
All right.